Cooperation is the critical concept which is important to coordinate the activities of work group members or teams in an organization. So here we have taken an example of a bookshop where there are three workers, and let us assume that the first worker is handling the accounts, the second worker is handling the shelves, and the third worker is handling the customers. So in between, what happens, the first worker, he wants to go for a lunch break. So when he is away on a lunch break, what happens, the third worker who has been handling the shelves, he takes up the role of the first worker, wherein he is keeping a tab on the accounts and the amount of book that have been sold. Whereas the second worker, he is in a position to handle both the customers as well as the bookshelf. So here in this example, we can very clearly see the concept of coordination. That is, in absence of one particular team member, the other two team members are putting in lot of efforts and they are also working towards it. Or you can keep it in the form of a group. In the absence of one group member, the other two members who belong to the group, they are compensating for the group member who is away, and also they are also helping in the activity so that the functioning of the bookshop goes very smoothly. This is an example of cooperation. This can only happen if there is a very good understanding between all the three group members. Okay. The next point here we see is that cooperation among work group members is the rule, mainly because it's often difficult to achieve work goals alone. As long as workers hold the same goals, they will usually cooperate with one another. That is what, with the example itself, I explained you this concept. So employees might also go out of their way to help each other because of the reciprocity rule. Okay, when I said that there should be a good understanding, that is one part. The second part also, which is very important here, is that of a reciprocity rule. What is the reciprocity rule? Workers help each other because they believe that when they need assistance, they will be paid back in kind. The reciprocity rule is very strong, and people do indeed tend to reciprocate helping behaviors. So here when they say paid back in kind, means it doesn't mean that they are going to earn any extra money out of it. It is just a kind of a courtesy which every individual follows, that suppose if one person has helped me, in the same way I will reciprocate him. So that is what the reciprocity rule also is applicable in the workers level. So degree of task interdependence, or the degree to which an individual works task performance depends on the efforts or skills of others, in one of the ways for increasing cooperation. Yeah, that person needs to be extremely skilled. If he is very skilled, until and unless, in the example, until and unless the person who was handling the bookshelf was not skilled in handling the accounts management, then maybe he could not, maybe he would be very kind, but he would not have been able to handle it in the same way as the first person was handling. So that is why they need to know, they need to be aware there should be a task interdependence. So in that, if it's a small group, in that three members in the group, every member should be aware of each other's task. You get it? So then it becomes easier, then the reciprocity rule also is highly applicable there. And also you also have a sense of satisfaction, and a sense of happiness that you're being of some use to someone. So that is what task interdependence is very important, and every three person in that group should be aware of what the other person is doing the task. Okay, so the research has also shown that task interdependence, it fosters positive feelings about co-workers, increases cooperative behaviors in working groups and teams, as I have explained. So they all group members, they work together to achieve goals and targets of the organization. So presence of a cooperative group often helps to facilitate the work performance. That is what cooperation is all about. Here, the next concept which we are going to see is the concept of competition. So, competition is a very natural behavior, and it also arises as a part of group dynamics. Obviously, if in a group there are five people, or let's take three people in a group, so obviously the competing spirit exists in a huge way, because everybody wants to see that their work is recognized individually. That is what we have also discussed. The cohesiveness increases if the group is made into small groups, or there is some isolation within the groups. So if you remember that concept, that is somewhere linked to the concept of competition. So here you can see that it's a competition is a very natural behavior. Now below here you see a slide, at the top there is just a kind of an icon where they are showing a sense of competition. Here at the below, if you see, here there are actually in a team there are around six members in a team. And what happens in the six members, each belong to one single team, but they are having competition with each other. So this also competition also enhances the individual productivity of the person, the individual recognition of the person. Okay, so let us go through the slides. What further it is trying to explain. Competition within groups involves members working against one another to achieve individual goals, often at the expense of other members. This I have already told you. For example, in a sales competition, all members of a sales group compete with one another, but only one can be named as the top salesperson, which is very true. One study was conducted and it was found that competition led to a decrease in the performance of the employees as goals were already set. Managers should be cautious in the use of competition as a motivational strategy. Both cooperation and competition are very natural human processes. They often both exist side by side in work groups and work organization. So far we have just been seeing the positive sides of the competition and how it has happened, because a lot of studies have been done only to support the concept of competition. But there was one particular negative study which was done, and it was found that the competition, it decreases the performance of the employees as all the goals are predefined. So many times this happens. Sometimes if there is a if we say like we are going to keep a quiz for you, like today I come to the class and I tell you that tomorrow I'm going to keep a quiz. So there would be some group of people who would not be interested to participate, because of the only reason they know what is going to be the end result. They know what are the goals is expected from them. They know that what is the chapter I'm going to handle. Suppose if I skip a quiz out of no knowledge of yours, and a random quiz if I keep, then the interest increases amongst the members. So in the same way only this research was done, and was found that competition, it led to the decrease of the performance of the employees, because of the only reason, because goals were already set. Competition வந்து ஒரு intrinsically motivated personக்கு வந்து யாரான சொல்லிட்டானா நீ இதுதான் பண்ணணும் அப்படி சொல்லிட்டானா அந்த பர்சனால அது அவ்வளோ என்ன சொல்றது, he will not take it in a very positive way. அதே அவனுக்கு பண்ணணும் அவனுக்கு தெரிஞ்சதுதான், ஒன்றும் சொல்லலைனா சைலண்டா நம்ம பார்த்தோம்னா அந்த பர்சன் வந்து இன்ட்ரின்சிக் மோட்டிவேஷனோட மெதுவா அந்த லேடரை ஏறிண்டே போவாங்க. அப்படி கூட கேசஸ் இருக்கு. ஸோ நம்ம in this slide நம்மளுக்கு ரெண்டு sides of competition we got to know. Okay, so now we'll go to the next one. Here we are going to read the concept of co-optation. Co-optation is what? It is the act of cooperation between competing companies. Businesses that engage in both competition and cooperation are said to be in co-optation. Okay. Certain businesses gain an advantage by using a judicious mixture of cooperation with the suppliers, customers, and firms producing complementary or related products. Daryl Waltrip coined the term of co-optation. Yes, co-optation. What is co-optation? Co-optation is actually a sense of an act of competition that exists between two competing companies. Okay, but the two competing companies, they come together, they join hands together to bring out something new in the organization till their products become popular with the customers. Once their products become popular with the customers, then again they will be going into their separate ways. Again they would be initially how they used to compete with each other, in the same way that company would be competing with each other. So a very good example was, first we had BSNL SIM, Bharti Airtel BSNL SIM was started. It gave some interesting schemes. It was something very new for our Indian technology, and everybody started having BSNL SIM and everybody was using it. Okay. Then after that, what happened? Airtel came into existence. So Airtel was something which was giving very exciting, interesting schemes, and it started working. Then what happened? Then Vodafone came into existence. So in the Madri, if you see continuously, if you could see, there have been a lot of such competing companies in the same field which were emerging. So at one particular time, it so happened that Idea and one more organization, one more SIM card generating companies, they joined hands together and they started giving lot of products. They started giving lot of even more exciting schemes. So that led to an example of cooperation. So this was somewhere in the early days when the mobile and the SIM was very popular in the market. So you can just check it out. You can just Google it and find out like which idea was acquired by which company, or rather idea shook hands with what, and then how they started functioning. Okay, it wasn't acquired, but at a later stage, initially Idea was working with one more SIM card company. They were together, they were coming together with exciting schemes, and later on, it was taken over. So you can just have a look at that through Google afterwards. So certain businesses gain an advantage by using a judicious mixture of cooperation with suppliers, customers, and firms producing complementary related products. அதுதான் நான் உங்களுக்கு இங்க explain பண்ணேன் that in the monthly businesses now they'll come together, they'll join hands together. At the same time, they'll be very careful that to what extent they have to cooperate. They'll be very careful how they have to deal with the suppliers. They have to be very careful how they have to deal with the customers, and also with the firms which are producing a complementary or related products. So that's cooperation, and Daryl Water was the person who identified this. Coming to the concept of reason for cooperation, it is the most common sector that acts in cooperation is the technology industry. Okay, so there are two competitors which may have complementary strengths, and a cooperation agreement, it can be formed to share in common gains. Cooperation between two tech companies can increase the chance of user growth within each company through cross-channel promotion. So the cooperation concept is very common in the technology industry, where, as you know, on a day-to-day basis, a lot of new technologies are coming up. So slowly, in order to get its popularity, many times what they do is they shake their hands with another technology biggie, and they will start working towards it. And once the product, or once their growth is achieved, they will then go in their different ways. So this happens mostly on a technology base. So maybe a technical guy can be of help to give you what exactly in the software industry kind of cooperation which happens. But in a day-to-day life, if you see day-to-day life, there are a lot of examples of cooperation. Now, all of you are aware of the Renault car which was introduced into India, right? So this Renault car, it was finding it difficult to find its ways to come to India. So what it did, it had a small sort of an agreement with Mahindra. It had a small sort of agreement with Mahindra, and what had happened, Mahindra introduced Mahindra Renault in India. That can be one of the examples, but not exactly an example, but one of the examples of cooperation. இந்தியால என்ட்ரி கிடைக்கிறதுக்காக, அந்த ப்ராடக்ட்க்கு இந்தியால பாப்புலாரிட்டி கிடைக்கிறதுக்காக, அந்த ரெனால்ட் வந்து மஹிந்திரா மாதிரி ஒரு பாப்புலர் பிராண்டோட அது டைப் பண்ணிட்டு அது வந்து இன்னைக்கு இந்தியால இட் இஸ் ஃபங்க்ஷனிங். So that is an example of cooperation. Then now here we are going to see some of the examples of cooperation. So a very popular example which I have from my end tried to show here is that of Samsung and Sony. They came into partnership in 2004. These are two competing companies. All of us are aware of it, right? Who were working on the same segment of television manufacturing, where they were involved in the production of LCD panels for flat screen TVs. So what had happened, what they did, they, irrespective of seeing the rivalry or anything, they teamed up with each other. They teamed up with each other, and they teamed up with each other, and they started producing the product in the company with their individual segments. So in the process, what had happened, that time they were knocking down other competitors from their position, and more than doubled the market shares with these two companies. The companies ended their partnership for LCD for television in 2011. So here you can see, like just like Samsung and Sony, where they tied hands with each other and they came into the market for the production of LCD screens, platform screens. So Sonyக்கு extreme popularity. வெறும் ரெண்டு company தான் இந்த products produce பண்ணியிருந்தது, அதுவும் high quality ல. That was, one was Sony and one was Samsung. So in that process, it so happened that Samsung and Sony, they were producing it, and the production level they started killing other competing companies. And the particular phase and the TV popularity kaga, nobody would go for LG, nobody would go for any other brand, nobody would go for Samsung, nobody would go for Philips, nobody would go for Panasonic. எவ்வளோ நிறைய companies இருக்கு marketல, nobody will go for any of those companies for the TV screens. At that time they would exclusively go only to Samsung or to Sony. So that is an example of competition. So as you can see, the market share has doubled for the respective organizations, and then they broke their partnership, or rather I should say ended their partnership, and in 2011 they ended it. Okay, now in the same way, now this Ariel washing powder, it was teaming up with LG washing machines, okay, for brand alliance and promotion. This is also an example of cooperation where Ariel brand was had to come up, and at the same time LG washing machine brand was also, or it had to also come up. So the partnership was strengthened by TVC that showcased as LG to be the best washing machine to wash your clothes with Ariel washing powder. So the impact was so huge that whenever people had LG washing machine in their house, they would be going and buying this Ariel Matic, or whatever, Ariel top down, Ariel bottom, all these kind of different washing powders. They are still existing in the market. So for top down approach, they'll buy Ariel top down. For the bottom up approach, they will buy the Ariel bottom up approach. So அந்த மாதிரி Surf Excel கூட அப்படிதான் வந்திருக்கு. எங்க வந்து front load, top load, அதுக்காக தனியா Surf Excel கூட is coming up with its own washing powder. So that's a different thing. Anna, for cooperation, these two are a very interesting examples. Another thing is various delivery apps were tying up themselves with cab services. E-commerce websites were tying with mobile handsets as an exclusive seller, such as OnePlus with Amazon. So this all of us can relate with. இப்போ இருக்கிற அத்தனை cab service, Uber cabs na Uber Eats. Uber cabs na Uber Eats were the one which these companies were connecting with the cab services. Okay, at the same time, websites, e-commerce websites tying with mobile handsets as an exclusive seller, such as OnePlus with Amazon. Anytime you want to buy OnePlus mobile, the top model mobile, you can buy it only in Amazon. அதே மாதிரி Asus mobile, you can buy it only in Flipkart. So அந்த மாதிரி so these are all examples of competition, because OnePlus is a different Android, a different product, a different company. Amazon is a different company, but they have come together. அதே மாதிரி Asus is a different company and Flipkart is a different company, but they have come together. Asus mobiles, you have to only go for Flipkart. OnePlus, you have to only go for Amazon. So that is what tells us the different examples of cooperation. Now we move on to the next one.